We are back live with you here for the Permco Superbikes at Mid-Ohio, the 10th anniversary season of the MotoAmerica Championship. The first time in 10 years that we have had MotoAmerica back at this iconic facility, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. You can see it's a beautiful day that we have on hands. All of the inclement weather everyone was worried about didn't make its way here for the morning. It did rain overnight, so the racetrack was very green. The wind continuing in the area as well, but we have been able to get this racetrack up to speed. We've had qualifying unfolding so far this morning in several of the different categories. We're going to get ourselves set and ready for Mission King of the Baggers, their second and final qualifying session. Let's go ahead and take a look. We had an Insta360 camera on board Bobby Fong's bike earlier this weekend, Roger Hayden.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this lap and just to be able to see how fast these guys on the baggers are able to change directions as we go down into turn one, which is a really fast left-hander. A lot of fun. You can make a pass on the exit here if you get a really good run as we head into turns 2 and 3, which is a really fast chicane there. Fast in, and then once you go to the left, and then the next corner, turn 4, the keyhole. We've seen some accidents you'll see on this screen here. The track starts to go away there, so we see a lot of riders losing the front there, and this is a huge part, getting a good run out of that corner. And this one only straightaway that we had, we see Tyler O'Hara there making a pass on Bobby Fong there in that session. They go through this kink, which is wide open, and then they start setting up for turn 6, which is probably the best passing zone, hardest on the brakes through here. And then this is what impresses me when we get through this infield part of the track, turn 7. This left has some camber, but the way they're able to change directions as quick as they are able to go, the track goes downhill from here, and then it starts going back up. We've heard a lot of riders talk about the elevation. You're going to see a little bit of it right here. He starts to go up over the hill, and then he starts going downhill, and that kind of pushes you in to turn 11 as you get ready to head toward Thunder Valley.
You can see the elevation with these Insta360 cameras, but when it's on board one of these bagger bikes, you can really see how dramatic it is with the weight of these motorcycles.
And even this last part of the track, I mean, it is really tight through here in the way. See just how the way Bobby's able to really, you know, move these bikes from right to left, getting on the front straightaway right here. It's just really impressive to see. I'm not sure how they're able to do it wide open through that last corner and getting the run onto the front straightaway.
It doesn't matter which one of them you talk to, they all love this style of racing, and these super bikes now with all the extra weight on them and just all the development that's happened through the championship so far this season. Let's take a look at the standings. Kyle Wyman leading the way now, 14 points he has over Troy Herfoss. It's going to be a Harley Indian battle to the end.
It's going to be a battle till the end, and the spoiler could be the guy right there in third, Hayden Gillum, winning the last race, last year's champions, able to go in and maybe be able to sneak out a couple wins. Maybe Troy and Kyle get the battle and might be able to let Hayden back in it.
Over the last couple of seasons, this championship has grown dramatically. It's now up to 18 races. There's still 6 races remaining before we can crown a champion for Kyle Wyman aboard that number 33 Harley Davidson we just showed. He is continuing to lead the way, but all of the competition behind him, they want that number 1 plate as well. But in terms of pace this weekend, Kyle showing him that he's not going to give it up.
Yeah, Kyle's going to be tough this week, and just like he is every weekend, but it just seems like so far this weekend he's able to get out and get up to speed really quick, and kind of has that target on his back. And we talked to him on that pre-show we've seen, you know, Friday morning, and he talks about how he loves being in this position. He wants to be the guy to beat. He wants to lead the points. He wants all the pressure on his shoulders, and right now he has it.
You mentioned that pre-show that happened on Friday. That's something we do each and every Friday coming into a race weekend. We set the stage for all of the storylines we're following along with, and that's an exclusive piece of content on MotoAmerica Live Plus. If you're joining us here on YouTube, this is bonus coverage, and you're going to want to go ahead and set up your subscription to MotoAmerica Live Plus. It's the only place where you can watch all of these races and qualifying sessions live in their entirety and on demand, so you can go back and watch some content that you may have missed, as well as these riders now getting up to speed. This is a shorter qualifying session than what we had yesterday. Yesterday's 30 minutes was long. We had the riders sitting on pit lane for several of the moments. Kyle Wyman, for example, he waited 5 minutes before he even came out to the racetrack. Those are just long sessions on these big, heavy bikes, but this one only 15 minutes.
And it's going to go quick, too, and a lot of guys were able to sat down with their crew last night and make a lot of changes, so they're going to get out and get as many laps as possible into this second qualifier. And also the track, seems like we've seen in the previous session, you know, the classes went quicker than they did yesterday. Had some rain overnight. Early this morning the track was a little bit green. Lap times were off, but right now it looks like it's really coming into its own.
Yes, if you're just joining us in this bonus YouTube coverage, we've had Junior Cup out, Super Sport was out this morning, Super Hooligans. I've already seen the racetrack Super Sport as well. So all of the classes have been out there, and we saw at the end of Junior Cup, there was the class just before Mission King of the Baggers. Those lap times were starting to get to what we had in the first qualifying session. So I'm interested to see what these riders are able to do here.
Yeah, we see Kyle now in his first flying lap, and what we're going to be able, the track looks really good. I love watching him going into turn 6 and watching him back it in through there. Those bikes were not designed for that.
Not originally, but the development that has happened over the course of the last couple of years and just getting these bikes, you know, we said it earlier, they're basically super bikes now with just a whole bunch of extra weight. Everything is purpose built on these machines. This is Hayden Gillum aboard that number 1, the Vance & Hines Harley-Davidson riders, same Hayden Gillum that we had out earlier in the Superbike class, if you were watching with us then as well, doing double duty here this weekend. And in defense of the championship, sitting in 3rd right now, but you mentioned momentum, Roger, and it's certainly something that Hayden's starting to get on his side.
Yeah, and you know, he's got quite a few points back, but he's not worried about the points battle. He's ready to go out there and just race for himself and get as many wins as possible. The Rev Zeal at Vance & Hines team struggled a little bit early on in the year. They made a lot of changes, but right now they are starting to get things figured out, and Hayden is starting to show him why he has that number 1 plate.
Now, looking at the results from the early part of the season, Hayden Gillum with that number 1 plate only stood on the podium once through, let's see, this was the first 8 races of the season, and that one came all the way back at the first race back at Road Atlanta. But over the last 4 races, he has 3 wins. So that momentum is certainly happening at the right time with 6 races remaining in this championship season. He knows how to fight for one.
And just looking at the timing and scoring, I see Larry Pegram's name out there, and I've seen him pulling out of the pits, and Bobby Fawn's name is not out there. So we see Bobby had that big crash right there before Superbike, so not sure he's able to make it back out. We was talking about the lap times compared from yesterday. Hayden Gillum just did a 28.7. His best lap yesterday was a 28.0, and this is the closest we've seen a session or a class to the best lap time early on.
Continue to watch Kyle Wyman, our pole sitter provisionally from yesterday. The time that everyone's going to be chasing here in this second qualifying session is Kyle's time of a 1:27.872 that he was able to put up in the 9th lap yesterday. You're not going to get that many laps here in this qualifying session, so if you're going to get close enough to take it away from him, it's going to have to happen early on.
Another guy making big strides mid-season. We see right there the 97, Rocco Wander struggled early on, and man, as he found his way, podium guy each weekend, fighting for wins and challenges, and right there in the races as well. Just, we know how talented Rocco is. We knew he would figure it out eventually, and he has it figured out now.
Yeah, Terry Vance reached out to Rocco in the offseason to see if this is a challenge that he would potentially want to take on and come aboard the Mission King of the Baggers class, but also lead his Suzuki program as well. And Rocco said, sure, I've never been on a bike like this before, but when we got to Daytona, he started to figure it out and was able to get his first podium back in the first race at Brainerd. And you would have thought that he won the race, but then he was able to get back-to-back podiums after that the last round at Laguna.
And we talk about momentum a lot, and once Rocco got it going his direction, and also on the Twins Cup bike when the Suzuki leading the championship, just everything started coming together, and Rocco's in a really good place right now with Vance & Hines. That support behind Rocco is going to be huge for him throughout his career.
You can see the number 43 on pit lane. That is James Rispoli, a teammate to the number 33 rider Kyle Wyman. So some changes happening on James Rispoli's bike with under 8 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. He was able to post a time that was 6th quickest yesterday. It was a 1:29.2. Looking at timing and scoring, he's gone a 1:29.5 here this morning. So some changes made overnight when the track's not as quick as we saw yesterday just yet, but he was able to be right there in the same time charts. Let's go down to Michael. Michael, you see James down there?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Just down here, a number of riders coming into the pits, including Troy Herfoss and including James Rispoli. There is a rear tyre now going on for James Rispoli. He's just having a chat to the team. James, how are conditions out there? How is the track feeling today?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit slicker here because we didn't get a lot of time yesterday. We had a tire here to throw, so we're going to try to do that and see if we can't go make up some time from yesterday.
Obviously, the challenge today is to get into the 3-lap challenge, and then obviously to look ahead for the points race later.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should be safe with the 6th place, but we need to make a jump if we want to be on the podium.
All right, thank you very much indeed. We'll head back to you. I'm going to get out of the way. It's getting a little bit busy down now in the pit lane.
Thank you for that. Yes, you see on timing and scoring, Hayden Gillum, Troy Herfoss, James Rispoli, Travis Wyman, all of them down on pit lane right now. So some work happening in the closing stages. You mentioned that rear tire going on for James Rispoli. So I imagine a couple of the others are going to do the same thing. Kyle Wyman has now moved up to the top, 1:28.391 for Kyle Wyman. So times continuing to fall here. This is the number 85 that you're looking at on the racetrack. This is Jake Lewis. He's currently in 7th during this session. He was also 7th in the first qualifying session yesterday. Why does that matter? Well, the top 6 after this qualifying session wraps up, when we combine those times, the top 6 will be able to compete in the Mission King of the Baggers Challenge race, which will be 3 laps here at Mid-Ohio. You don't earn any points for it, but you do earn $5,000 outright there from Mission Foods, and it's a big bragging rights moment and 3 extra laps for these riders before we get into racing this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's almost like a little mini preview of the race. You get to see what turn 1 looks like from the starting position and also the front row, and it's one of the best races of the weekend. It's only 3 laps. Nobody has to worry about points, and they're all going for $5,000.
Yeah, nobody has to worry about saving anything. Yep. 3 laps and you get it done. Troy Herfoss here on the number 17, sitting 2nd in this Mission King of the Baggers Championship right now. It's his first season racing over here in the United States, also racing in the Super Hooligans category as well with his teammate Tyler O'Hara, the two of them both doing double duty each race weekend that they're out. He's been able to win 4 times this season, been on the podium 9 times, just super impressive right out of the gate for Troy Herfoss.
Yeah, he's fit right in, right out of the gate, as you mentioned, just been fast on the bagger and the hooligan. 2 bikes he's never rode before, but, you know, he's Australian Superbike champ, so, you know, he's got some talent, and it's been fun watching him and Kyle step up, and I think it's been good for Kyle as well. It's somebody to come in, a new person into the class, and, you know, he's made Kyle step his game up.
And he's learning each track every time we get there. He hadn't raced over here before, so it's always been a challenge, but everyone trying to figure out this racetrack at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, especially in this category with these bikes. Several of these riders were here when MotoAmerica last raced here 10 years ago, but it's a different animal. You see James Rispoli, Michael talked about, he was on pit lane, got a new rear tire. We'll see if he can find any extra pace.
James is just kind of struggling with confidence a little bit with the bagger. You know, he's trying to find that feeling that he's really looking for. You know, he's got some battles on the podium and stuff, but I think James would like to be a little bit further up, and we'll see. I know he's working hard and the team's working hard, and he'll get there.
A great organization behind him, a lot of support from that factory team, plus the teammate of Kyle Wyman. And that was one of the things that I love, the way that James said it a couple races ago. He said, yes, this is my own bike, but this is very much a Kyle Wyman set up bike, and he just had to figure it out, and that takes some time.
Yeah, and find what works good for James. You know, what works for one guy might not work for the other. And Kyle's been on this bike forever, and, you know, they've kind of development. Kyle's been leading it. And for James right now, he's trying to figure out what he likes, and, you know, maybe a little bit of different direction to make him feel more comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every rider has their own thing where they're looking for the feel to be able to push it to the limit.
Just saw that number 17. Troy Herfoss. See his graphic is still there on the bottom of the screen. He did his personal best in that first sector. Didn't find any improvement in the second sector. Still working the third one. There he is right behind James Rispoli. didn't improve on that lap. That third sector, he lost a lot of time. See Rocco Landers and Hayden Gillum there sitting alongside him, helmet off for Hayden Gillum.
Looks like they're already getting ready for the challenge.
You know, maybe they realize we can improve our qualifying time. Maybe not worth putting extra laps on these bikes before they are in the challenge. Both of them have already qualified for that, assuming that nobody bumps either of them out in these closing minutes. 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining on the clock right now, but Troy Herfoss.
He just went through the keyhole there, and he's got his personal best first sector. Look how much they slide those. Look at that.
You can see the rubber that he's laying down behind him. Right on the edge. You know, one of the things I remember about the first weekend Troy came over, was back at Daytona, and he was seeing Daytona International Speedway for the first time, and he said it was one of the most terrifying things that he's ever experienced, and he had to wrap his head around it while also learning new bikes. But he showed that it was a challenge that he was certainly up for. Look at him now, improving his time here in the closing stages of this qualifying session. 1:27.924 for Troy Herfoss, the first rider into the 1:27s here in the second qualifying session. And it's a better time than what he did yesterday.
Yeah, what a lap. He's in a good spot, too. He's right there behind James Rispoli, who's putting in some good laps. So he's got a nice little carrot there in front of him. This is where we've seen him make that mistake the previous lap, right there where the rear end stepped out. He kept it clean this lap. He can challenge for pole this lap here. If he can just find about a half a tenth or a tenth, he can put this thing on pole.
There's one thing Kyle Wyman talked about on our previous show on Friday. He said, you know, it's incredible the way that these two racers are so closely matched, even on different equipment, different manufacturers, you know, different backgrounds that they bring to the table, but they're always within a tenth of each other in terms of pace, and it's just incredible the way this championship has unfolded.
Yeah, Troy's backed off at this point, but you know, the Harley and the Indian, that they have their strengths and their weaknesses, and just over the lap, it just kind of all evens out. So that's what makes this class so great. There's not one of them that's, you know, not one Harley's better or better than the Indian. They're equal, and it comes down to the rider when you got two equal bikes going at it.
Clock ticking down, just 15 seconds remaining here before the checkered flag will fly for the second qualifying session for King of the Baggers. And if you're here at the racetrack, go ahead and get yourself a seat somewhere along the fence line to be able to watch the first race that we're going to have as for the weekend. It's going to be the Mission King of the Baggers Challenge. 3 laps will be coming up right after this. Is the checkered flag. I can see out the window here of the broadcast booth now flying from the start-finish stand. The top 6 riders after these 2 qualifying sessions will be able to get out to the grid area in just a few moments and get themselves set, and they're all going to go for $5,000 for 3 laps. You don't have to worry about points. You don't have to worry about saving anything. You don't have to worry about having enough left at the end of the race. It's 3 laps, shootout. Here is Kyle Wyman taking the checkered flag. No improvement on that lap for him. For the 2024 season, Tom Duma Fine Jewelers of Ohio will produce custom championship rings and pendants for the MotoAmerica champions in Steel Commander Superbike, Mission King of the Baggers, Super Sport, and Mission Mini Cup by Moto classes. Tom will work with each of the champions to choose from several designs, all with a retail value between $12,000 and $15,000. It's an incredible piece of jewelry to be able to remember a championship season. Take a look at the combined qualifying results. Kyle Wyman, Troy Herfoss, Hayden Gillum, Rocco Landers, Tyler O'Hara, James Rispoli, our top 6. We're going to see them out for the challenge. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with it right after this.